But let's get to the process, fellas. So under Sam Hinkie, the Philadelphia 76ers started what was called the process, where they accumulated draft picks and they tanked in order to build a perfect roster. Now, this goes against everything in the competitive mind of an athlete because, like Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. See, I should have had IT on that. We needed that soundbite right there, didn't we? But yes, you play to win the game. And Sam Hinkie didn't do that. He played to build the best roster that he could in order to win games in the future. But the problem was he didn't get the right players, and he didn't even get to see this thing through. Because if you think about Philly and the roster that they have, the best roster they had was the roster with Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid and JJ Redick. That's the best roster that they've put together. And that roster was a Kawhi crazy shot from overtime in a game 7 with an opportunity to go to the Eastern Conference Finals against Giannis, who they would have likely beat. But if you look at the process, I can take a few little things here and tell you where the process has failed. I think the easiest one is you should have drafted Tatum over Fultz. If you're going to make Ben Simmons your non-shooting point guard, why not bring in another 6'8" natural scorer, a walking bucket, somebody who's capable of putting up 50 in a playoff game, who can play good enough defense, and then you pair him with Joel Embiid. And guess what? There goes your big three. And at the cost that Jason Tatum would have cost you then, it would be nothing. It would be nothing. But instead, you draft Markelle Fultz, who turns into a bust for Philly. Now, he may revive his career in Orlando, but what Philly needed from him, he was not able to provide. And Jason Tatum was exactly what they needed, especially if you're going to play Ben at the point guard. But just think about this. You can't expect to win a championship if Tobias Harris is your go-to option in crunch time. He is the only player on that roster, him and maybe Seth Curry, that you can put the ball in their hands and say, hey, I need you to get a bucket, whether it's a three, whether it's a mid-range shot, or whether it's at the rim. Those are the only two players on that roster who have the ability to score at all three levels. And I'm not saying that they're high end, which is their problem. Ben had the shakes, the yips, the hips, I don't want to shoot the ball. Joel Embiid was hurt as usual, but also he's a big man, and you just can't rely on a post player in crunch time in the NBA playoffs. But just imagine if they take Brandon Ingram instead of Ben Simmons back in 2016. Just imagine that. So instead of Ben Simmons and Embiid, you got B.I. and Embiid. Or maybe you don't take Fultz. And maybe you don't take Tatum. You take Lonzo. Lonzo can shoot the three. Lonzo can set people up. You got Lonzo, Ben Simmons, and Embiid. So now that allows Simmons to play off the ball, play that dunker role, and actually be effective in the dunker role. Or imagine if you go Jason Tatum, right? You draft Brandon Ingram instead of Ben Simmons. You got Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, and Joel Embiid. Now, all you need is just a decent point guard off the scrap heap to run your offense, because B.I. can play your point forward and shoot the ball. Jason Tatum can score the ball. obviously. And Joel Embiid can be your big man, and you probably have a championship team right now. The process is over. The process has failed. And if you think that losing, losing is going to bring you winning, you're absolutely wrong, because the players who are on your roster, they develop losing habits. They know that they're not trying to win. The organization does not want them to win, and they develop losing habits because you allow it, because you're trying to lose. Now, a lot of people are taking shots at Doc because Doc didn't make adjustments. If you know anything about Doc Rivers' track record, you know he doesn't make adjustments, which is why he left LA. He doesn't adjust. That's just who Doc is. But I'm not putting this on Doc, because if you look at that roster, and maybe early in the season, I picked him to win a championship. Why? Because I was optimistic. I didn't think Ben Simmons would fall into the gutter. But just think about it, man. Could you really see them winning a championship? Like, give them the best coach who's ever coached basketball. Can you see that team as constructed winning a championship? Because I can't. I don't see how a team built like Philly wins a championship. So before we blame the coach, which is so easy to do, I think we need to look at the roster construction. We got to look at what Sam Hinkie did. We have to look at Elton Brand's inability to bring back Jimmy Butler and instead bring back Tobias Harris. And maybe it's just the roster, y'all. It's just a roster. Now, Daryl has his roster, and I think Daryl's going to shake things up. We know Daryl is a willing, dealing son of a gun, and he's going to make some moves to improve this roster. I don't know how much value you get for Ben, because you see that Doc is now on the Ben apology tour. It started post-game. Doc Rivers, do you think you can win a championship with Ben Simmons as your point guard? I don't know. We got to. No, you can't win a championship with a point guard who you can't play in crunch time, and Tobias Harris as your crunch time scorer. Championship's not going to happen. Second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, yeah, book it. Go ahead and book it. But championship, nah, absolutely not. Joel Embiid talked about the turning point of the game when Ben had the layup or the dunk over Trae Young, and he dishes off to Thibault. Thibault gets fouled. Thibault hits one free throw. Trae comes down. Splash on your chick. Yeah. Ocean Gang. And what happened? The game changed there. You get it's a 4-point game. It's a 4-point game now. So you got Embiid and you got Doc Rivers pretty much coming out and saying, yeah, bro, Ben got to go. Ben saying he has to be better. Yeah, bro, you have to be better, but you have to be better in the offseason. You have to commit to your game, because too much is coming out that you're not working on your game. You're not trying to get better, which is why the process failed. See, you're a flawed part of the process. Because, see, the process was working-ish based on what your trajectory was when you came into the league. But Chris Carter said it. Ben Simmons is not a point guard. He's a point forward, but he's not a point guard. And as you see, he is not a point guard. They let Seth Curry run the offense. But the process failed. And things happen.